afternoon, and thank you for talking to me about GEDE, the Gender Emergence and Economic Development Forum. If you could please, just for the sake of our audience, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you come to be involved in gender issues and gender work.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me, Winihin. My name is Sebabatso Manoeli. I'm from Lesotho in South Africa. I serve as the president of the Oxford University Africa Society, and I'm a student here at the University of Oxford. I'm doing a PhD in African history thanks to the Rhodes Scholarship. And I've had an interest and engagement in gender issues for several years for various reasons, from having an incredibly supportive father all the way to being involved in various leadership opportunities that have really given me an opportunity to help represent the interests of people on the margins, be they people of color, people from the continent, or women in particular, and have been involved in the Manoeli Initiative for Women's Leadership in Africa, and have had the privilege of speaking at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women in 2011. So this issue of gender equality and women's rights is dear to my heart, and something that I appreciate, and I'm particularly excited for the WJ series.
So very colorful, the number of things that you have been involved in. Talking about what you're studying, African history, would you agree with this then, that history shows that the involvement of females in affairs of the economy really progresses the economy? Most
certainly. I think it really is something that we can look to, that in fact the increased participation of women in a variety of sectors, be it agriculture to politics to economics, really does increase the success of those particular sectors. And I think for a very simple reason: diversity and increasing the number and the variety of people involved in a particular issue exponentially increases our capacity and our ability to find solutions, and solutions that are sustainable. So women's perspectives are hugely helpful, and have historically been hugely helpful in a variety of sectors.
So one of the things that we do at the series is to showcase models that have worked. So are there several historical models that you think we can adapt or apply to modern day that will help raise the issues to the fore for gender equality?
That's a very interesting question. In terms of historical models that have worked for women, I think a number of things come to mind in terms of the increased sort of participation of women in the political sphere, from voting rights and the enfranchisement of women. Initially began as a sort of a cosmetic change, a change in the legislature, where women are given increased rights in a particular area. But you see in a generation or two that shifting when women begin to espouse the values of what it means to be a voter and a committed citizen, and so you see an increased participation. So I think sort of the historical precedent of women's enfranchisement, specifically in voting, can be an example for us about, you change the legislature in one generation, but in the next generation you can expect to see an increase of women participating in that within that particular area. And so a cosmetic shift in one generation can really lead to a transformational and a substantial change in the next. And so whatever issues we're looking to change in this time and age, whether it's increasing the quota of women in particular government spheres, it might be discouraging at the beginning, but I think within a generation or two, women will all the more gladly and all the more competently enter into those spheres and spaces.
As you speak of generations, it actually takes me to my final question, which is, every day history is made. So what do you think the story will be 100 years from now if there were two women sitting right here in this ancient seat of intellectual exchange discussing gender emergence? What do you think the story will be then?
I mean, in the words of Thomas Sankara, as one of the speakers today reminded us, dare to invent the future. And the future I would invent for 100 years from now about the conversation for women would be one in which women across the world, regardless of their backgrounds and geographical locations, can begin to say, gosh, what must have it been like for us to be unequal and different, that a woman from China could not speak to a woman from Mali because there was such a significant difference in their experience, or a woman from Norway with a woman from Rwanda. And I think being able to help to change the narrative and the conversation and the access to opportunities that women from a variety of backgrounds, beginning with Africa but all across the world, is something that I think can yield real dividends within a generation or two, such that women can be speaking about their shared experience as women, and it's not a shared experience of lack of access, but one of equal access and feeling fully enfranchised in whatever sector
they find themselves in. So there is hope that in the next 100 years, even for the things that concern women, there'll be not only a cross-generational conversation, but a cross-cultural conversation that strengthens us and helps us to truly emerge as gender. Thank you very much.
Thank
you. It was very nice talking to you.
Appreciate it.